Chris?
He's here.
Good. Maybe he can explain this.
No,
Why not?
no, Matt.
Why not? Now's the
Because
time.
this is
Why
not
not?
the time.
When is the time? When is the time?
Please, sorry.
Hey.
Hey, I'm just taking this trash out. Thought you were working a double tonight.
Yeah, but you did. How was your appointment on Saturday?
Appointment?
Yeah, with Dr. Freeland.
Well, I didn't have an appointment.
No? No. You sure?
Sure.
Yes. Jay saw you go inside his office. Said you were going inside with some other guy.
No, I just stopped by. I had to ask him some
Oh,
questions.
you said now you were there. Where you were?
I was there. But I had to ask him
Yeah, you can go with the lies again, and don't we?
I'm not.
Yes, you are lying to me. You're not telling me the truth. Ow! You wouldn't make it worse. Oh, you're lying. Hey, Chris, how you doing, football player? Good, Matthias. How you doing? I'm good. Judy Anderson called. Said she saw a prowler in the neighborhood. You see anything? No? What about your wife? She home? She didn't see anything. You didn't ask her, Chris? She didn't say anything about it. Maybe I should come in and ask her. Not that I...
Hey, it's Christopher.
And Amanda.
And welcome back to
Date night at the movies.
Okay, and this week we're going back 20 years of an anniversary for Out of Time, released on October 3rd of 2003. Out of Time is an American mystery thriller directed by Carl Franklin, starring Denzel Washington, Eva Mendes, Dean Cain, John Billingsley, and Sana Lathan.
Sure.
Sure,
I
okay.
think that's how you pronounce her name.
That's how you pronounce
She's not
it.
in much, so...
No. So as we often do, we talk about, before we get into the plot of the movie, memories of the movie. I'll go first this week. So the memories of this movie, I saw this movie actually 20 years ago when it did open. I saw it at the Rideau Center Cinemas when it was at Empire Theaters way back when. Where they had
Do they still have the movie
They
theaters in
do
there?
not. They
Okay.
only have three screening rooms, so they're very small. So I remember seeing this on its opening day. So October. I know where I was on October 3rd of 2003. So I was watching this movie, and that is the only time I'd ever seen it prior to, again, watching it for the rewatch for this podcast, and it wasn't that disappointing.
No.
Like, it still kind of holds up.
I have zero memories. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know Denzel Washington was in it. But I do love him in other movies.
Yes, very similar genre
What's your favorite?
of all time. I
You
guess.
normally ask me that. What's your favorite Denzel Washington
Let's
movie?
go with it's a tough one. I'll go with Philadelphia.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Mine's Unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
It's the choo-choo train one.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch that one.
There's a lot of good
But you're not
ones.
going to like it.
Why?
Because I think it has Chris Pine in it and you don't like it.
Oh, I don't like. I cannot stand that guy.
Well, we're going to have to watch it.
It's true.
I might make it be a bonus because I really do love it.
Okay. So this film does hold a 64% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on 151 reviews. So Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars. This is what he had to say. Suspension of disbelief, always necessary in a thriller, is required here in wholesale quantities. But in a movie like At a Time, I'm not looking for realism. I'm looking for a sense of style brought to genre material.
I guess that makes sense because there are some moments in it where you're like, is that actually realistic?
It's not.
And it's not.
A lot of this movie isn't realistic, as we're going to come to find out, but yet it's still a lot of fun.
It does hold up to the suspense genre, though, like the style that he was talking about.
Yes.
Like it.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So the film did gross $55 million on a budget of $50 million, so it was a moderate success.
Oh dear, they only just broke even.
Well, a little bit over.
Jeez.
And on its opening weekend on October 3rd to 5th of 2003, Out of Time was in second place at box office sales at $16.1 million Also new in the theaters was School of Rock at 19.6
So you
million.
went to this instead of School of Rock?
Yes.
Oh.
And the carryovers were The Rundown at 9.6 million. Under the Tuscan Sun was fourth place, 7.6 million, and number 5 was Secondhand Lions at 5.4 million.
I don't know that one at all.
Not remembered. It's got Robert Duvall, Michael Caine, and Haley Joel Osment. I remember it, but a lot of people don't.
That Under the Tuscan Sun
Is Diane Lane.
Yes. Is that one on our list to do this year or for another year?
It could be on the list. It could make its way onto the pod. It
I
is
thought it was one that you
20th
always wanted to do.
20th year anniversary. Like any of these movies can make it on the rundown.
Yeah.
School of Rock. We'll see.
Okay.
How the year plays out.
How it progresses.
How it does, exactly.
Well, I know you just want to get a movie that has notes.
I do. This is very thin this week for me again.
So maybe we'll just take turns reading.
Let's do that.
But I have to start because I have to talk about the opening
Of course.
credits.
Let's do it.
So the opening credits, the way that I described the music to you was a typical low-key jazzy intro to a detective show or movie. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. And it was giving off the feel of being somewhere down south and warm without even seeing any images of where it takes place. That's,
That's the style of the director, Carl Franklin, like in Devil in the Blue Dress, which he also worked with Denzel Washington. Very same style of music, very same style cinematography.
Well, I think it works. I liked it. So we first see Matthias, known as Matt, Whitlock, who is the respected chief of police of a small Florida Keys town of Banyan Key.
It's fictitious, I believe.
I believe it's fictitious, yes. He's going down the roadway and checking that all the doors are locked. I guess given the feel that it's one of those neighborhoods where you don't have to lock your door at night. We see a lot of those on our crime shows.
Where people don't lock their doors. And they say this is the kind of town that you wouldn't suspect murder or mischief happening. But yet, lo and behold, guess what happens? Murder and mischief.
Yeah. Then he's back in his office watching Jay Leno and drinking, I guess.
He drinks a lot on the job.
He does drink a lot on the job. It was Jay Leno, right?
It was Jay.
Okay. I know, you don't like him. He gets a call from a woman named Ann Harrison saying that someone just broke into her house. He says he'll be right over. So he takes a swig and leaves. He drives up to the house and asks if she's okay. To me, she certainly doesn't look like a person whose house has been broken into. I mean, if it was me, I would be disheveled. I would be frazzled. I'd be crying, freaking out, where her makeup is pristine and she looks like she's ready for a date.
Date with the chief.
Yes, this is what we find out. She clearly starts flirting with him, saying that the thief looked a lot like him, but he's not her type. He then asks her questions about, what happened, and she tells him this long and almost very typical erotica-type thriller that you would expect to read, which is essentially her way of seducing him to make out with her on her bed, and it's very clear that these two are just, they're seeing each other. It's more serious than just like this one-off of her seducing him. While she's giving him a nice little, blowy, he gets a call on the radio to a situation that is about to blow, apparently. So I guess that is their way of being funny.
Yeah, it is.
Tongue-in-cheek, right? So he has to go, much to her dismay. We'd never find out what it's about, but we just find out that he leaves. The rest of the actors' names show up on the screen with some more of that tropical jazzy music, along with more scenes where we know, without a doubt, that it's set in Florida. I kind of like it.
I do too.
Like that cinematography type. The next morning, we see Matt is reading about himself in the newspaper at a restaurant. Some annoying dude named Chris comes by and asks if Matt is sitting with all of his friends, because he's sitting by himself. Wow, that's so nice.
Yeah.
And Matt responds, well, I'd invite you to sit down, but I don't want to. And then he advises that Chris eat the lobster, knowing that he's allergic. So we already know. Okay,
again,
these guys do not like each other.
Tongue in cheek, saying he's allergic to the crabs. That could be.
Oh, it was crabs, not lobster.
Yeah, it could be seen as his
an
wife.
STD.
Yeah.
At this point, we learn that Ann Harrison is married to this guy, and he seems oblivious to the affair. But I think
later,
he's
on to him.
Well, later on, it's
in the confrontation.
Obvious.
It's obvious that he knows.
Matt goes to the police station where we meet his geeky lackey friend, the medical examiner, Che. It kept.
Is it Che or Jay?
It's Shay.
Okay.
Like if you look at the Wikipedia of the cast members, it's CHAE, but it keeps wanting to autocorrect to Chase. So I keep having to delete it. So if you ever take over and it's Chase, it's not. It's Shay. And he's obviously the comic relief of the movie, and I really like him.
Well, I think I read in some notes they had on this movie in IMDb that Che was meant to be an Asian character for a comic relief.
Why would they do that?
I'm not really sure, but they went with this guy instead,
I like this guy.
Billingsley, and it kind of works.
Yeah. I see this other random officer, I don't know his name, but I remember I got really excited because he's from Grey's Anatomy. He's Dr. Percy. He gets shot in the head, though, in season 6, so he doesn't last very long.
Did you know that Denzel Washington directed some episodes of Grey's Anatomy in 2016?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, did I stop watching it then?
I believe so, but I saw that when I was looking at the filmography, that he directed some episodes of
Oh
Grey's
my goodness, I'm going to have to look.
Anatomy.
No, I was still watching. I stopped watching, I think, around 20. Well, it was whenever Dr. McDreamy died. That was it. I stopped watching. But now I'm going to have to go and check to see when Denzel Washington directed
some episodes.
That's so exciting. A woman is in the station and catches Matt's eye. She enters the room, and it's here we learn that, well, the woman is Alex Whitlock, so his...
Diaz Whitlock.
Diaz Whitlock, yes. And they're separating.
Yeah.
Soon to be divorced couple. And you can tell they're not really getting along very well. Back at his boathouse, I guess that's what you would call that,
yeah,
right?
It's a boat.
Matt is fishing when Anne walks through his door. Anne tells him that her husband is gone for the weekend, which leads to them having some pretty intense sounding sexy time. Although I made a comment to you that it's quite PG, and how do they still have their clothes on?
Yeah, because the movie's rated PG-13.
Oh, okay, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna make it believable.
There's no R-rated. Not a lot of profanity in this movie either, so I think that's.
I don't think there's any.
I don't think there is any.
Anne makes a comment that he still loves his wife. He brings up to her that she still wears his, like, the wedding ring. And her answer to him is that, well, it's different because Chris needs me. Matt makes a comment that she should remember that the next time he hits her on the side of the head.
Yeah.
So it's
clear obviously there's an abusive
relationship. Matt knows. Matt's obviously very protective of her.
But only to get spurned by her, which is really ironic in itself.
Yeah. But at the same time, I don't think she's wrong when she says that he still loves his wife.
No.
He clearly does.
He does, yes. You see that throughout the movie.
Yeah. That night, Anne receives a phone call and says that she'll be right there the next day. The next morning, the two of them go to Mercy Hospital, to the oncology clinic. Oh my goodness, so much typos. While taking Anne to the doctor, Matt finds out that she's just been diagnosed with terminal cancer. She has stated that Matt is her brother, so that's why he can stay and hear the news. And then she says, well, she feels fine, doesn't know, how this changes things, and gets up to leave. Matt stays behind to talk to the doctor to ask about, are there any experiments? What else can we do? And then the doctor just kind of said, well, there's, some places you can go, and just kind of half-ass his answer.
I don't get this angle, though, in the movie at all. I think it doesn't make any sense. It's I guess it leads to a culmination of what we see at the end.
Yes.
The showdown between Whitlock and Harrison here, but I just kind of don't get where this all kind of ties in.
Well, I'll get to that point a little bit later, but it has to do with this doctor, who's actually Paul Cabot, who's friends with Chris, and they're working together to steal money.
Okay. So
they have to use her as like a decoy.
And she's using him in essence as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
there's a whole lot of using going on.
There is, yes.
Sorry, my chair is really squeaky. That night she keeps telling Matt that they shouldn't be doing this, meaning the affair, and that she's sorry she dragged him into this. The next morning he buys her flowers. He goes to her house that night, and she shows him a document where it shows that Chris changed the life insurance policy to $1 million right after her 32nd birthday. I think it was just to show that, oh, this is weird. What do you think of this? I guess to kind of get that topic going with Matt. I'm not sure. While they're looking at it, Chris shows up home early. She tells Matt he needs to leave, and this is where I started the pod. He exits the back and goes around the house to escape being seen. Meanwhile, we see Chris questioning Anne about her visit with the doctor. He starts to get angry with her for lying, grabs her, starts hitting her. She's screaming. Hearing all of this, Matt rushes up to the door and knocks on him and asks him if he'd seen a prowler going around the neighborhood because, apparently somebody called one in. Chris says he didn't see anything. Matt asks if his wife saw anything, and he answers for her. Basically, there is no prowler, but Matt's trying to protect Anne.
Yes.
And showing Chris that he knows that he is an abuser. Not cool. Do you want to read or you're okay?
Sure, I'll read. So the next day, Matt and Alex are seen leaving the law office where her name is taken off the mortgage. Anne calls him and tells him that she has to plan to make it to Switzerland, the Switzerland clinic that he had suggested about her and a new groundbreaking treatment. What do you think that groundbreaking treatment is?
I don't know. It's probably not even legit.
He goes into a life insurance meeting with her where she learns about how much she'll get back from her policy.
Which is around like
$750,000.
Yeah.
I remember from the movie.
Yeah.
And we see Chris, who seems to be a security guard for a morgue, take some people to the basement. That explains what his job is, and we are unsure.
Because we were unsure. So then we were like, well, what is his
But
job?
because it looked like at first you think he's a police officer.
But he can't be, because
No,
he can't
because
work
he
at the same
would be
place.
on the same as Chief Whitlock. So back at the house, Anne is freaking out because their plan won't work for some reason. She has no money to get to Switzerland, and the plan can't change. She tells him just to go and leave her.
Like, I'm very confused as to why she, starts freaking out at him. And, all of a sudden, oh, I don't have the money anymore. The insurance plan won't change. We can't go.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
So there's a lot of holes already in their grand scheme that they're trying to pull off here, and it's just not working for me either. I think it's sort of...
It's very confusing.
Yeah, and the character, like I said, Anne, very unlikable in this movie. I cannot stand her.
Yeah. So Shay and Matt are having a drink at the bar when Shay is sent home because he's had too much. Chris walks up to Matt and offers to join him for a beer. He asks if Matt ever found the prowler outside of their house.
Which he knows it's him.
Yeah, basically he admits that he knows there's something going on between him and his wife. And he says, I'd really respect the guy if he had a pair of balls to come up and tell me that he's actually banging my wife. And then Matt says, well, I would respect the guy if he came up and told you were a lousy husband and that he was banging your wife. Both kind of admitting that they know what's going
That's
on.
right. That's what it is, the admission here from the two characters.
Chris then threatens Matt by saying that if he ever goes near his wife again, that he'll kill him. Matt reminds Chris that as the chief of police, he can't have people making threats like that.
No.
So he better watch what he says. Anne shows up at Matt's house with an apology and to show him that... Oh, see, I'm glad you're not reading all this. It's kind of confusing. To show him that out of, her loyalty to him and her love for him, that she's going to make him the sole beneficiary of her $1 million life insurance policy, which is only going to screw things up a little later. That night, he receives his divorce papers, so that puts him in a bad mood. But right after that, he's desperate to help Anne and takes out $485,000 out of evidence. So I think this is at a different part of the police station.
It's in a safe, I believe.
Yeah.
It's in his office.
And he gives it to her so that she can make that trip to Switzerland or whatever. He tells her that it's okay because the police station thinks that he's putting it in a safe deposit box until that big drug case goes to court. He tells her to meet him at his house that night at 11:30. Well, it's 11:30 when he gets back home. But it's not Anne in his house. It's Shay making a pickle sandwich because he's having a fight with his wife, so he's going to stay the night. Matt doesn't agree, basically pushes him out of the house and says, just go home. And then he calls Anne's phone to find out where she is because she's not shown up, but there's no answer. So he decides to go to her house and check on her, but nothing seems out of the ordinary. The cars are both there, so why is she not answering her phone? He gets out of his car and goes over to check on the house in the dark, but a dog barks at him, which prompts the old next door neighbor who's got like this crazy orange hair to turn her light on and catch a glimpse of him. So then he runs back to the car and drives away immediately. He's then woken up by the sounds of fire trucks, and the next scene is we see Anne and Chris's house has gone up in flames. Matt arrives at the house where the money as well that he had given to her
has also gone up in flames.
Yep. And he's horrified to find their charred remains. They're just lying there.
Which is someone else's bodies
that we find out later,
but we don't know at this time.
No. The fire does seem suspicious because, as the one firefighter says, propane tanks don't just blow up for no reason. Well, his ex-wife Alex shows up because her job is a homicide detective. It always is that way, though, in these types of movies. Like, they always have the same types of jobs. They always work together.
That's right.
Well, looking at the house, a fireman says, well, it's definitely arson, and it's also now considered a double homicide. On the car ride to the police station, Alex apologizes to Matt for the timing of her sending the divorce papers to him, and she asks questions about, does he know if the couple was screwing around on one another, and he makes some comment like, wow, is anybody's marriage happy anymore?
That's right.
Yeah. So Alex gets a call from Anne's workplace, so she goes to investigate that with Matt. Anne apparently had quit the day before, saying that she has terminal cancer. Her coworker came over and also said that she suspected that Anne was having an affair because someone had sent her flowers last week. She's always on the phone whispering and talking to somebody. And her husband really didn't seem to be the type of person to be that loving and doting to her. So Matt pretends to call the flower shop to ask who might have sent the flowers to her, because he knows if they call, the flower shop lady is going to say it was him. He makes everyone believe that it was indeed Chris Harrison, and therefore no need to keep chatting at this place or check in with the flower people. Well,
so,
what?
Do you think he's covering his tracks really well here? I think
I think he's trying, then as you notice, like the phone, it says, if you'd like to make a call.
There's nobody on the other line.
Yeah.
I think she's on to him too, Alex.
She's not stupid.
Has this inclination throughout most of the movie that how come he's always at the scene of the crime, where he's always seems to be where she is, and it's just...
Yeah, and wanting to take over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alex says that she wants to go to the doctor's office to check on the diagnosis and ask Matt to come with her. At first he says, oh, just drive me to the station. I don't need to go with you. And then Alex is like, oh, you really don't want to be with me at all. But it's just because he doesn't want his cover to be blown. He knows if he goes and sees this doctor, the doctor's going to say, aren't you the brother? But she does end up convincing him to come. He goes with her. And then they find out that the doctor wasn't actually her oncologist. She didn't have cancer at all. So then Matt excuses himself to go and check out the office of the other doctor where they had been earlier, which is on like a whole other section of the hospital.
So he's really now the wheels are spinning in his head. Like, what fuck is going on here?
So upon investigation, one of my favorite parts happens is the conversation between Matt and this poor doctor who has no idea what's going on. And he's like, and Matt's like, can I take your pen? Have you used this pen? No, just take the pen. Just take the pen. It's yours. Like he's. But
they're using it to get fingerprints. So that's
I feel so bad for this doctor. He has no idea what's going on. Anyways, Matt discovers that the doctor who apparently diagnosed Anne was an imposter. Anne didn't even have cancer. And he's been set up in some sort of way. So
back at the station, Alex is waiting for the cell phone records to come in from Anne's phone. This is a really intense scene, I think. Well, one of the more intense scenes in the movie, where it's not very possible.
Not that part yet.
So meanwhile, they have the old neighbor who was the eyewitness to the sneaky guy around the Harrison house. Alex shows her the sketch, which looks a little like him, but the old lady points directly to him and says, "That's the guy."
Yeah.
And looked exactly like him. When her daughter says that the man is the chief of the police, so it can't be him, she admits that the man was black. She then starts pointing at every black man that comes into the station saying, maybe it
maybe
looked
it
like
was
him.
him.
It looked like him. It looked like him. So when the Drug Enforcement Administration agent calls to get the evidence money in order to bust the high drug lord, Matt responds erratically and yells at the cop, Dr. Percy, to
I
get
don't
the
know
prints.
his name. That's why I said
and
Dr. Percy.
done on the pen he stole from the doctor's office. Meanwhile, Matt starts hearing Alex figuring out about the life insurance policy on Ann Harris that supposedly has his name on it, plus the printed phone records coming on the fax machine.
This is the part that you said is like a very intense.
I don't know
scene.
how he can erase those records so thoroughly as he does, but
Yeah.
he sees that his phone number and his name is listed on there several times, so he has to act quickly to stall time and get rid of his name from the document. He wouldn't be able to get away with this now, as technology is so advanced that it would be nothing to get the phone records resent quickly to them.
Because you can hear the other guy on the other officer saying, "Can you resend the,
Doesn't this go through the court system though to get phone records if you're even on a criminal or homicide case? Is that?
I think so. Yeah.
That's
But even still, it would be so quick.
to receive those records.
Like the way that, like, the amount of time that Matt is taking to erase the names, which you actually can do on PDFs.
Okay.
You can do that, but like the whole rigmarole of scanning it, taking them off, resending it, unplugging the computer, taking out the paper, and like all of that.
And again, I think that's why this movie's
happen.
called Out of Time, because time is of the essence in every angle of this movie. And I think even I read in one little notes they did have was the director, Carl Franklin, actually did set clocks so that the actors would always seem like they would be out of time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, and I guess it also fits, with if Anne's diagnosis is terminal, she's figuratively out of time for
Yes.
life.
Their divorce, Alex and Matt,
Yep,
out of
it's out
time.
of time. This is out of time. Yeah, so I made a comment here that, him erasing his name from the phone records, I thought it was like a series of genius moves on his part.
Yes.
To show that he's a smart, witty guy who thinks on his feet.
Well, he has to, or he's going to be seeing here that he's a suspect here.
Yeah, well, and then here. So he then has to turn off his phone, turn off the voicemail, turn it to vibrate because Alex starts phoning his number, and he can't have her hear it. He pretends to talk on the phone to someone else, and the only person who knows the truth is Shay. He catches on. He knows it's Matt, and he actually covers his ass by saying to Alex, "Oh, that's my cell phone number," and makes up this totally random story about how he did call Chris Harrison last night to say if he wanted to go for a drink because, he was lonely.
Bottom of the barrel guy.
Yeah. Because he had a fight with his wife, so, he was my last choice. So it kind of makes sense.
So when Che comes to see Matt, Matt admits that he's sleeping with Anne and that he gave her the evidence money. Che jokes that he asked if he'd get the money if he slept with Matt. Che then asks about what the plan is moving forward because all the evidence is pointing to him.
Yeah. So Che and Matt go to the house of Paul Cabot, whose fingerprints we learn were on the pen that was taken from the hospital. Che's more interested in stealing beer from this guy's fridge. This house is messy.
Again, that's why he's the comedic relief.
I know.
That you're supposed to think that's funny. Like,
yeah. He does offer an escape plan for Matt if he wants to take it, but Matt tells him to just drive back to the station. And it's there we find out that he is actually an employee of the hospital, but he works in the morgue, which kind of now we're putting
the pieces together.
Yeah.
So Matt gets to the station and hears Alex on the phone with the insurance people. Matt is relieved that she's told that Chris Harris is the beneficiary, but there's a note that says she wants to change the beneficiary. Wonder to who,
Yeah.
eh? But the name isn't made yet. Matt is on the phone trying to figure out where Paul Cabot is at the moment, but hears that Alex is about to bust him. Matt needs to get to him before Alex does.
He does this because he stole a credit card statement from his house. So then he calls I guess one of his other internal buddies who can get like the deets about where people are, finds out where he is. So he rushes to the hotel where Cabot used his credit card, and after a brief struggle, he accidentally kills the imposter. Because the poor guy falls to his death from the hanging balcony.
I'd be concerned about that balcony, how easily it disassembled. Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention how, he was smart by, calling and saying, I've made a reservation, but like I forget my room number. And so the person on the phone says, oh, you're in room 715. So then when he gets to the hotel, he says, hi, I'm Paul Cabot. I'm in room 715, but I lost my key. Like, how easy is it for these people to just give him
a key? It's impossible. They'd ask for ID. We've been to hotels and ask for everything, like ID, credit cards. They want everything to make sure this is the right person. I don't think it's...
Maybe they've seen too many of these shows.
Maybe they've seen this movie and they don't want a catastrophe like this to occur for sure.
So Matt takes the money that was under the bed and flees. Well, he tries to, but the desk attendant believes that he's Cabot, so he yells at him and says, that's the guy! This is like the second time that he's been pointed out as the man in need. Although Matt is seen by the police, he makes them believe that he's there to protect Alex. And, well, easy to believe. So, no concern there. They get back to the station. Matt is concerned that desk attendant who was on his way to the station is going to, bust his cover. He receives a very distressed call by Anne, who appears to be very alive. She keeps saying that she's sorry, she's hid so much from him. Apparently Chris and Paul worked together. They took bodies from the morgue to stage the fire. He tells her that he has the money now, and he'll go and meet her wherever she is. So at this part, I don't know. Like, I was confused. I know we see that Chris is there, but I think there's another twist coming that I did not see at all. I thought he was holding a gun to her, forcing her to say all this stuff, because she does seem actually more distressed.
Yeah.
Alex is very suspicious of Matt. And she gets a call and finds out that Matt happens to be Anne's sole beneficiary. So it's obvious that, he's had a relationship with her in some way. When she goes to approach him, though, she can't find him. Because Matt has broken out of the station by jumping out the bathroom window. He drives to this really sketchy area that is dark and decrepit. That's my best way of saying
That's always where the final scene will take place, right? It can't be... And
they're, of course, on the very top flight of this old rickety building that could probably disintegrate at any moment. When Matt gets up to the door, there's, this big standoff. Who's going to shoot first? Chris and Matt get into a fight, and it's amazing because it's Anne that shoots and kills Chris.
Another twist.
Yeah, another twist. Confused about everything, Matt starts to question about what's going on. And then Anne starts to, I don't know, after watching all of our shows, I'm starting to think Anne has something going on. Like, is she...
paranoid schizophrenia?
Yeah, like that poor doctor who shot everybody at the faculty meeting.
Yes.
Because she didn't agree with anything that they said, and all they were doing was discussing, things.
Her tenure was coming up with the university.
It was awful. Anyways, I'm sorry, I'm going off tangent here. Anyways, so Anne is revealing all of this. This was all her plan, apparently. I don't see how that could have been her plan without getting Chris and Paul involved, but anyways, she wanted to do this for money and fortune, and she ends up shooting Matt in the leg. I think it's because she has bad aim.
Yes.
Right? I don't think it's intentional. I think she actually intended to kill him.
Yeah.
When Anna's about to kill Matt, Alex kills her then. Alex had found Matt by using that GPS tracker that he had, and asked him whether he had planned to elope with her with the money. And Matt tells her he didn't bring the money with him. It's almost like he knew, so he's not going to bring the money. When the irritated DEA agents also come to arrest Matt because, he had previously promised to deliver that money to them, he says that, I had sent a man to Miami to give it to you, and lo and behold, Shay shows up
with the money.
explaining, oh, there must have been a wrong address. I couldn't find the office. And, like, people believe him because he's a dopey dude.
Shay is the MVP of this movie. He
I love
bails
him.
out Matt quite a bit here.
And offers to do more. He offers us, he's like, I got 10 grand in the bank. I can send you to San Jose and go get us a boat, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, this poor guy, he has a wife. Like, he can't just leave his wife, but I guess he can.
Yeah.
I guess Shay really, like, loves Matt.
He does.
Yeah. Anyways, so the DEA agents are happy. They have their money, and Matt escapes with no charges. Even though, like, let's think about all that he's done.
He's killed a man.
Who did he kill?
Paul Cabot.
Oh, yeah, he did. Impersonation.
Yeah.
Um,
He's abusing his power as the police chief.
yeah. He ruined that DEA officer's phone.
Yeah.
He smuggled this evidence money. He's done a lot of stuff, but no charges.
No charges. He
No,
gets off because
nothing.
everything, the movie magic, everyone needs a happy ending, right?
Yep. So later, when Matt is on medical leave, Shay visits with him with news that Matt is the recipient of Anne's insurance policy. It all went through. But Alex says that as his wife, she knows that Matt has to reject it, meaning that she's decided to drop the divorce and move back in with Matt. So, happy ending for that.
All around, man.
Which is great. Matt seemingly forgets about the insurance money, like he doesn't care. But Shay is like, you need to take this money. I need this money. Can you please take it and then give it to me if you don't want it? Like, I love this guy. I feel like he's just like their buddy. So that is it. It really is awful when there's no notes on your behalf.
It is.
Because look, we're at 40, not even 40 minutes.
Well,
honey.
that's just because there's not a lot on this movie, and there is not much really to tell other than it's a really short movie too. It only runs in at
It is actually.
Runs in at about 105 minutes, so it's not very.
But do you find that this is stereotypical of Denzel Washington movies? His style?
Yeah, I'd say that he was in this.
Like,
time,
does he do any other types?
He does, but in this time period, he was focused more on these thriller type mystery
Like
adventures.
Deja Vu? I love that one. Man on Fire was not my favorite,
Okay,
but Deja Vu was so good. I want to see that one with you. Have
we
you
should do
seen
it. I have not seen it.
It's about a boat. It explodes.
It explodes.
Spoiler alert.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of movies he was doing in this time frame that seemed eerily similar.
Unstoppable has nothing to do with police work or anything like that.
trains?
It's on a train.
It's on a train.
I love trains.
You do.
Yeah.
All right, so now we'll talk about the final thoughts of this movie and the score. So I'll let you go first this week.
Okay. Look, I put
$78.
$78. Well, now they know what my percentage is. Thank you, honey.
Sorry.
Okay, so I do love Denzel Washington as an actor. I think he's fantastic. I do not like the actress who played Anne. I didn't find her very convincing at all or endearing.
It's one of the weaker actors in the movie.
Yeah, I did like Eva Mendes. I thought she was witty and smart, and I really liked her, and I thought they had a good rapport. I did like the the moments of suspense where you're like, oh my god, he's going to get caught. How is he going to get out of this? And, he always finds a way. As unrealistic as it is, he still gets away with it. And it works. And I really like Shay. I think he's funny. But all the twists and turns were just a little too confusing for me. There was too many holes that I could not put together. So, despite all of the thriller and action part that I did love, I am going to have to take marks off for that because I was confused. I was like, I don't understand what Anne and Chris have to do with this. I thought they died. What is going on? But, I mean, for what it's worth, I still thought it was a decent movie, and I'm going to give it 78%.
78, okay. So, as I said, for me, pretty much on board with what you said. I think Washington is always reliable in any movie he's in or anything he does. Any body of work he's put forward has been pretty reliable, pretty stellar. And Mendez is good in this. The guy Billingsley, who's Che, is funny. The comedic relief in this movie. But you're right, a lot of holes in it. There's a lot of things that don't add up that can be confusing to somebody who doesn't know the backstory of this movie, and to me, it's kind of just there for me. So I'm going to give it a 72% rating.
Okay, I mean that's still
It's not
pretty
horrible. It's not
respectable.
terrible. It's not the greatest movie I've ever seen. It's by far not the worst. But
No.
let's give it a 72. So it's 78 and 72. Where does this movie rank overall on the date night at the movie rankings?
So that puts it, so it's an average movie, and that actually puts it right at 75%, tied with what we did last week, the to-do list, and Little Man Tate, which actually happens to be one of our
top
downloads, which is great.
It is great. It's a great movie. Little Man Tate is.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It is. So now next week we have coming up another anniversary piece, as this is the trend of this podcast this year is anniversary pieces. So this time we're going to go back 30 years for the following movie.
Hold, please.
Bill Foster is an ordinary man.
Where you going? Going home. Not this way, not. Why not? Metro Rail Construction, that's why not.
Living in the everyday world.
I don't suppose you have a couple of bucks you can give me. It would really help me out. If you give me your address, I'll mail it back on.
A patient man.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'd like a ham and cheese omelet with lamb fries.
I'm sorry.
We stop serving breakfast at 11:30.
Who's running out of patience.
I get some change for the phones.
A peaceful man.
Look, Chase, I have to buy the liquor.
Who's about to be pushed.
85 cents. 85 cents.
Doesn't give me enough money for the phone call.
Drink. 85 cents. You pay? Go.
A little too far.
I stay.
I mean, you stole your baseball bat, but you paid for the soda.
Just standing up for my rights. As a consumer.
Oh, this guy's discriminating.
What kind of vigilante are you? I'm just trying to get home for my little girl's birthday.
Give us your briefcase.
If everybody will stay out of my way. Here.
You want a briefcase? Here's my briefcase. Where's the briefcase? Wait a minute.
And nobody will get hurt.
Warner Brothers presents
Can we get off my golf course? Yeah.
the story of an everyday guy who refused to take it one more day.
So we got enough case with a bag full of guns is in Hollywood right now, and he's heading west. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but there's other people waiting to use the phone here. Now, if you go up against this guy, be careful.
Think it's out of order.
Somebody in a white shirt and tie gunned down a phone with $3 from the landing burger.
Michael Douglas.
In America, we have the freedom of speech. Come on, I want to be a bargain on a fight. The right to disagree.
Robert Duvall.
I know who this guy is.
In a Joel Schumacher film.
What are you doing to the street?
We're fixing it. What the hell does it look like?
See, I don't think anything's wrong with the street. I think you're just trying to justify your inflated budgets.
Well, I guess so.
I'll give you something to fix.
What are you? Hey, Charlie!
Falling down.
Let's call it a day. Come on. I'm the bad guy?
A tale of urban reality.
All right, so that is next week, Falling Down. I have yet to see this, even though it's 30 some odd years old, and
It seems actually interesting.
it does.
Part of, it seems hokey, but at the same time, I think you might actually have a lot to talk about.
I think we will have a lot to talk about this one.
Do you have notes on it?
I do have a lot of
Oh,
notes on it. So
okay.
good news
Okay.
is I have a lot of notes on this movie, so it won't be...
I honestly don't think I've seen many movies with Michael Douglas in it. I only know him
really?
as Catherine Zeta-Jones' husband.
Okay, so he's been in a lot of good movies.
Has he?
Yeah. Romance in the Stone, Jewel of the Nile.
Nope.
War of the Roses.
No.
Don't Say a Word.
No.
So many good
Okay.
ones.
Okay. Well, anyways, so I'm actually looking forward to seeing that.
So am I.
So we'll have to do that this week.
Yes.
And our episode will probably be a little bit later, much like this one. That seems to be our...
But we still get it out.
we
and
still get it out, but...
It's a lot of life changes, so just got to work around them.
Yeah. So I think it's best that we don't set a date.
No,
But just know that something will be coming every week.
absolutely.
And thank you to... We've had some more recent downloads, which has been amazing. I love going on the Podbean app and looking at...
How many downloads we have?
Yeah, and then it surprises me because obviously people are going back and listening to some old ones, although nobody has downloaded Tootsie.
Oh, my. Why?
Well, because it's not that exciting.
It is an exciting movie. It's a great movie.
I disagree. I'm sorry,
100%.
I'm logging on. I'm trying to see
100%.
what our updated download list is. 293.
That is good. We're close
so
to 300.
close to 300, which is amazing.
That is, considering this is just a little over a year old now.
Yeah.
This podcast. So.
Yeah. And I certainly didn't expect it to take off as much as it did.
Neither did I. But I'm glad it has.
I'm very glad it has too. So, anyways, I will press the end record button shortly.
Okay.
And we wish you all
a good week.
A good week and good weekend, in case that's when we release it. And looking forward to sharing Falling Down with you next time.